Hi.
Here we go. Hi.
Thank you very much that you accept this invite, Adam.
No problem.
Okay, so we have some questions about your career, about your life, and maybe some questions about your training from young goalkeepers.
Mm-hmm.
So, but first, how are you now in Scotland? How's the situation in this crazy situation about Corona?
Yeah, we are good. We're actually back in Hungary. So we came back 3 weeks ago exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And we spent 2 weeks in quarantine in the house. But we have a lovely house here with a garden. So that's why we came back, because we had an apartment in Scotland. And we were slowly, but we were going crazy. So I have all my respect for the people who are spending time with children in an apartment, because it must not be easy. But thankfully we have a garden here, so that makes life a little bit easier.
What can the professional footballer do now in this quarantine when you were 14 days closed in your house?
Well, I was lucky, I guess, because from the national team they landed me a bicycle, like a Kaiser bicycle. So I was doing every second day a fitness session. You can order stuff still online, and they just drop it off your garden on your door. So I ordered some stuff from like like bands and like step up boxes, so you could do some squats and you can do some movements. You can do a lot of press ups and sit ups, planks. I guess there's a lot of videos on YouTube now, and a lot of players are doing different stuff. And of course, we're getting help from our fitness guys as well, from the team. And we actually have to do, mainly for the players, they have to do running sessions in the parks. But for keepers, we can do a lot of gym and fitness. In actually, we can still go out and run. But obviously you cannot spend too much time out.
Mm-hmm. And what about the situation in Scottish Premier League? Do you have some information when the league can start?
Well, it looks quite a mess at the moment, doesn't it? Like, I don't know if you've seen the news, but they voted and they accepted that below the Premier League, from Championship to League 1 to League 2, they are closing the season. Mm-hmm. And I think that will allow the board to decide whether the Premier League will be closed. And I guess the question is now, and that's behind closed doors, so there's not much, unless there was something today I haven't seen, but there might be some trouble, because a couple of teams can get relegated, without playing the game. But maybe they will make more team able to join the Premier League and nobody get relegated. But at the moment, we just don't know. But everybody, like me and everybody else, just wants the season to be finished, I guess, if it's possible. But at the moment, it doesn't seem to be possible very soon. They're talking about July, August, and it's still far away.
Yeah, it's the same in other countries, I think, in Slovakia or the center of Europe. And how about the situation in Hungary? People wear the mask or stay home, because in Slovakia it's really, really tough now. People stay home for 14 days and we can go to work or something.
I guess it's a little bit of a mix, because everybody's supposed to stay home as much as possible, but there's still a lot of people allowed to work, so they are going to work. But of course, a lot of people working from home. You're allowed to go out to walk, and you're allowed to go to the shops to shop between different times. Yes. So there are still people, but most of them are wearing masks and be careful. But it's a little bit of a mix. It's not a complete lockdown, but of course it's a restriction. So I think everybody needs to use his common sense and go out as little as possible and look after. But it's a hard situation, because you just don't know how long it's going to last. And like I said, people in apartments with 1 or 2 bedrooms, it must be hard, especially with kids, and it's not easy. So I don't know. Hopefully sooner rather than later, this whole situation will be solved.
Yes, of course. Everybody believe that this situation end in the near months or better weeks. Yeah.
We don't know.
Yes. Okay. So, but we are here to talk about football, not about the illness and virus. So, I can ask you some questions from fans. A lot of people are interested about your Liverpool career, but at the beginning we can choose this one. What was the best moment in your career? Maybe in Liverpool, in Premier League, maybe national team. Your best moment. I can say I see your saved penalty against Wayne Rooney, so it was perfect.
Yeah, until that moment, I think that was one of the highlights because I think everybody has most of the kids that dream about playing in the Premier League, and I was the same. And of course, you dream to play one of those big stadiums, and Old Trafford, of course, is like that. And save the penalty, that was magical. And unfortunately, we lost the game. But yes, that's a magical moment. And after that, I think the debut I had for Liverpool, that was again with penalties. Managed to save 3. So there were a lot of good moments, a lot of bad moments as well. But yeah, I think the save against Rooney, the debut for Liverpool, even the first game for Liverpool that we played in Bangkok for the friendly, and that was like 60,000 people. That was an amazing experience to walk out for a friendly game in front of 60,000 people. That's very unique, and yeah, you have to pinch yourself a little bit for the first time that wow, you're actually playing for one of the best teams in the world.
We have some questions here in commentaries from fans of Hips. One of these are asked about if you're going to stay in Hips next season.
Well, that's a good question because we don't know when the next season starts. But actually, I have a contract until the end of June, and as it stands, that's where we are at the moment. And I don't think anybody at the I don't know. Of course, we're thinking about the future, but at the moment, I think it's so much uncertainty that they cannot really get into talks at the moment, and the main thing was the last weeks, the players' wage deferral, that the players give up a certain wage, which will be paid back later, and that was the main thing. And hopefully the situation moves on, that we can start talking about the next phase. But at the moment, we haven't managed to talk about it yet.
And are you open to stay in the Hips after?
Yeah, I always felt welcomed, and I always loved being there last season, and I wanted to stay. That wasn't the case, but in the end, I joined the club again in November, and I think everybody at the club knows that how much I like being there and enjoyed being there. So I'm very open to talk about the future, of course.
Okay, thank you. Obvious question. First impressions when you signed for LFC?
That was incredible. The first approach and the talk to actually you go through some emotions because you realize that not just the Premier League team, but one of the biggest teams try to sign you, and of course the answer was straight away yes, and it was something like a feeling that wow, this is a huge step, but you always wanted to arrive to that sort of level, and so I was always seeing it as a great opportunity and something that I need to take on and work really hard. But of course it was amazing from straight away. My daughter was born on the day when I was supposed to go back for pre-season. So I missed that week, the first 4 or 5 days of the pre-season. So I arrived on a day. Next day I was training, and then in the afternoon we flew to Bangkok. And And like I said, 2 days later, I was playing in front of 60,000 people. So the first couple of days was like going quick and then trying to obviously get my fitness back, but play straight away and perform in a level that was required there. So from the initial fantastic feeling, then you suddenly realize how much you're behind in terms of fitness and level. You need to do your best and get your fitness up, and then after that it was just a focus on that.
Mm-hmm. You speak about the level. We have one question from fans. What the goalkeeper might do to reach a level like that? And it is about a lot of training, but what about self-denial, about food or party with friends?
Well, I guess, I mean, the main thing is you obviously need to be talented enough to be able to make the next steps, and the next step to make always the next step requires work and requires you to be dedicated and then listen to your coach. And I hope you have a good coach so they can teach you. Sorry, somebody was calling. Sorry. So you need to be obviously dedicated and train a lot. And yes, you have to give up a lot because your friends might be partying, but you have a game next day or you're training. But no, it's not like it's not like a prison. So after the game you can still you can go out and unless you have a game on Tuesday. But yes, you have to give up a lot. But talent, hard work, a little bit of luck, but preparation as well. I guess that's the main thing for everybody. And then when you have the opportunity, you have to be prepared to use it.
Mm-hmm. And after that, how was the teammate with Jordan Henderson and Adam Lallana?
Yeah, they were. I mean, they are obviously all of them are great players. They are fantastic abilities, and that's just one thing. The other thing is that they work so hard. Like honestly, the work ethic in that club was always really high, and then Klopp came, and then he required more, and then he had a great bunch of players who were not just talented but work so hard, and they eat well. They look after their bodies. They use every help it's possible, and it was just about football, and how to be able to be better, every time. And that's no. I mean, there's no coincidence that they reached Champions League. They became the winner, first final, and then big winner, and then obviously they became Premier League champions, because in my eyes they are champions. So their work ethic is just second to none. It's fantastic. They first of all, the ability is there, but the work ethic will take you to the next levels.
Mm-hmm. And how was the work with goalkeepers in this level with Loris Karius or Simon Mignolet? In this level, you are friends or the concurrent?
It's interesting. I found that I was always getting on really well with everybody. Any club I've been, I'm probably the easiest person to get along. At Liverpool, it was a little bit different, but not bad, not in a bad way, but it's not as easygoing as it was, for example, in other clubs or at Hibs or at Bolton. Mignolet is a very serious guy. He's very serious about his work, and therefore he had a competition with Loris. So I guess it was a professional relationship between them, but nothing more, nothing less really either. But it wasn't a lot of banter around or jokes.
Okay, I understand. Yes. And next question from fans: how do you rate your time in Liverpool in the optic of your own career? How do you rate this time?
Well, it was a huge step for me, and then I was really focused to do the best as possible, and it was going really well at the beginning. It's going well. I played in the cup games, and then of course I had 2 bad games, which didn't help, and I didn't have credit at the club, which is understandable. I was coming from Bolton, from 2nd division, and then after that, I became 3rd choice because they brought Danny back, and then after that, I was in my head was I need to play from now on because the Euros were coming up in 2016. Yeah. So I was asking to let me go to play on loan, and they didn't let me in that January window. And then after that, I already decided in the next summer that I need to go. As soon as I have an opportunity, I want to go and play. And so I missed the Euros, and then I went to Wigan because they wanted to sign me, and I thought that would be a good idea, and it was going okay. It wasn't anything special, but then I've done my knee. So after that, I had an ACL injury, and I went back to Liverpool. But from that on, it was about recovery and trying to get back from injury. So it was a short spell. I could have been, I think, looking back, I should have been a little bit more patient. But I wasn't patient in a 3rd choice position, and I wanted to go and play. And looking back, maybe I should have been a little bit more patient, but I didn't think, I never thought after I became 3rd choice that I can become 2nd and then fight for the 1st one again. I never felt like that, and I think in that sense, it was a good idea to go and play. Unfortunately, I got injured, and then it becomes like I missed a year and a half out of football.
And how do you rate the Jurgen Klopp as a person?
Well, as a person, I would rate him as a manager a lot. As a coach, he's fantastic. He requires a lot, but he's always there. So he demands a lot. He puts the right people in the right positions. He has a great staff, and he. How do you mean? Yeah, I mean he's I'm just reading the comments. With Ivan Klasnic just joined.
Yes.
So I lost my my thinking. Yeah. So obviously he's great. He's great with the players. A lot of people like him. He's quite open. But he's also very talented dealing with the media.
Yeah, of course.
But the main thing is the work behind it. He has a clear idea, and he requires everybody, the staff, the scouting, everybody knows his job. And I think the puzzle is completed, and he's done a fantastic job there, clearly.
Yeah. And have you some funny story with Jurgen Klopp? Because he's a very funny guy. What he said on the press conference or something. Is he same in the dressing room?
Yeah, he is. So he's got this great talent of talking to people.
Yeah,
he can demand a lot without hurting anybody. So you have a lot of managers who, when they start shouting, of course they swear a lot, and you like this. He doesn't say that, but he has his persona, and then he has his way to demand without hurt, like I said. So funny stories. I don't know. I mean, he's a funny guy, but he sees the game right, and obviously points out mistakes and stuff in a funny way. But there's not clearly funny stories.
Okay, thank you. And what about your best mate from the Liverpool changing room?
I don't know. I was always was quite friendly with the keepers. So with Mignolet, I would be friendly with the younger keepers. Some of the players who I got a little bit friendlier than they left eventually, but I was okay with everybody. I wouldn't say I made best friends there, but I was friendly with everybody, and I enjoyed being there.
And I must ask about Martin Škrtel.
Yeah, great guy, but he left after the first season again. So obviously we have quite a lot in common, coming from a similar area, similar habits, foods, but he left after 1 year, so I didn't get to, and plus he was doing a lot of rehab from January because he's done his thigh when I played. But I think in his mind he had enough from England, and he wanted a new challenge, and that's what he got in Turkey.
Okay, and another one question from fan Anfield Central. What did Klopp say to you after performance in Watford? Is one of the worst moments in your career, maybe?
Yeah, well, my worst moment in my career is getting relegated with Bolton, clearly, on the last day. So that was the biggest moment, because that was the whole club, getting down the league.
Yeah,
personal bad moments. Yeah, the Watford game wasn't a great game, of course, but he didn't say anything. To be fair, nothing, not a word.
Okay. One small goalkeeper have a question. Can I still be the professional goalkeeper? I'm under 13 and I'm just the second goalkeeper. What can you say about that?
Well, to be second goalkeeper in under 13 doesn't matter, honestly. I've been second keeper many times, under 13, under 15, 17. It's just, just keep working hard. Enjoy football. Do it until you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, then you might need to think about it, what's next. But if you enjoy playing and being in the team, just do your best. Try to do your best. Eventually, you will get your chance. You need to be, like I said, you need to be ready.
My question: how is the main difference between football in the British Islands, not only in England, in Scotland, and Hungary, or the other in Europe?
Well, traditionally, firstly, of course, I think what we can see is the tempo of the game is incredible. That's really is the case. Especially 10 years ago, 12 years ago, even before, the traditional way of playing in Britain was long balls, headers, pick up the second balls, and just constantly, kick the ball forward, put it in the side, cross it, and head it. So it's very physical, and you need to be, as a goalkeeper, you need to be really ideally tall, but be brave and come for crosses, or have a good rhythm to be able to come for crosses. It's been changing, and it's changed in a lot of clubs, thanks to Guardiola and the Spanish influence of the game, or the European influence of the game. But I have to say, in Scotland, it's still, apart from Celtic and Rangers, many times the game is a traditional British way, I would say. So it's a little bit much more physical and simple football, if you like to say, or traditional football. But I've seen the English under, 21, 19, under 18, they grow up in a totally different way, where, of course, it's fast, but it's much more technical and tactical as well than it used to be.
Okay, thank you very much for this answer. Next question from a fan from Czech Republic. It's interesting. If you have an offer from Slavia Prague, is it interesting for you?
Yes.
It's really huge.
Yeah, everything is. Of course, everything is interesting. I think. I spent a lot of time in Bolton, which I loved. I still think of that time of one of the best times I had. And then I lived in the same area for another 4 years other 3 years when I played for Liverpool or was recovering from injury. And then I've been in Edinburgh, which I absolutely love. But any famous team like Slavia Prague from Europe is, of course, is interesting because it's an interesting culture, being in Prague, and of course being part of a big team and a famous team. It's an interesting, and then so if the question is only if you're interested, yes. Whether it's realistic, whether it's possible, but what are the other? That's a different question. But to be interested, of course, yeah.
Okay, you grown up in Hungary, in Vasas, Budapest, as I could see. And how was when you were the young player, go from Hungary to England?
Yeah, different, hard, But my dream was always to play in England. So that was my only dream, my only focus was the Premier League, to play in England. And well, I was growing up on clay, to play. I don't know, you probably know, maybe in Slovakia you had the similar, like clay, where you play tennis. That was the surface where we grew up. So for me, I wanted green and grass. So of course the clear choice was England, and to go, it was a huge step, like massive. Like suddenly the ball is twice as fast. The goals, the shots on target all the time. The crosses are coming in all the time. So the quality and it was so much more and so much bigger. So I needed at least 6 months, but I would say the first year to get used to it. And the second year I started to feel, right, okay, I can perform now. Like that, I always knew I could, but I wasn't physically there. I wasn't fast enough. So then you have to reach. I think it's really important to be able to reach the fitness level and the physical level and to be fast enough. Then your talent can come through, but it's impossible even if you're the biggest talent, because in Hungary we have so many talented football players. Honestly, they can stop the ball on their ear or their nose, or they can do anything. But the question is whether you can do it in a match pace where the defender is coming with 2 foot from the back and smash you in another minute. Then it's a different story. Then it's interesting. I think I need to put some light on because it's getting darker.
No, it's okay.
No, it's okay.
Okay, we speak about Jurgen Klopp, but we have one question from fan again. And what was it like to play under Big Sam?
Well, I didn't play, unfortunately. I came the year when he left. So the first game that I've seen at Bolton was against Newcastle, and he just signed to Newcastle. So I didn't play under him, but his influence was still there at Bolton. And Sammy Lee, who was his second, he was his assistant coach. He took over at Bolton when I went there, and the players were still, and the style of Bolton played was very much the same as Sam Allardyce's style. And there's a lot of players like Gary Speed, Jaskalainen, Kevin Nolan, Ivan Campo, Aniaka. There's some players. They were still doing the same principles and the same way as it was under Sam, I think.
Now it's not the Bolton in these days. It's not the Bolton like a few years ago. But you can imagine that you return to this club.
Wow, it's hard to imagine anything at the moment, or I would say anything is possible, but it is so far away because we just don't know whether the league is going to be finished and if it's played. And then Bolton, unfortunately, in a horrible situation.
Yeah. But fans loves you, as I see in the comments.
Yeah. No, I love being there. Even today, to this day, one of them, when I think of home stadium, and I hope the Hibs fan, they don't take it in the wrong. But when I think of the home stadium is the Reebok for me, because I spent 8 years there, and I know everything about it, and it was good memories, very good memories. Like I said, one bad memory but even after that, we had ups and downs, but staying in the championship, and I had, again, of course, through my career, a lot of injuries, but it was great memories to be able to be back again. It's the same as for Slavia Praha. You have to, of course, you're interested, and you think, like, deep down you have, wow, it would be interesting to go back, but whether they want you, whether they approach you, what's the current situation, what else do I have? It's a bit more complicated than that.
Okay, and what about Hungary? Can you imagine that you finish the career home in Hungary?
Well, again, I always thought I would come back and to finish it here. But again, it has to be right. So I don't want to come back just for the sake of it. Just okay, because I decided I come back, and I have the deal has to be right, and then you need to be able to go on to the next phase. To maybe to do coaching or learn something. So
yeah,
it has to be a good deal, but not necessarily money wise, or it has to be a good deal that gives you the next step as well for your career, I guess. But I never had a huge motivation. My motivation was only Premier League. That was in my head, just that. So I never really had like when I grew up to think like, okay, I played 10 years in England, then 5 years in Scotland, and then I finished with 4 years in Hungary. I never really had a plan like that. But yes, I'm 32. I'm going to be 33 soon. So I guess if the right one comes along, then again, it's a serious question. It's a serious decision to make. Especially my daughter, she's going to be 5, then 6, then it's about school. So there's a lot of things to weigh up and think about it. But at the moment, I feel like I want to play football much longer. Which I had a little bit of a trouble last year to see what I want to be.
Okay. Question from fans: who was your idol?
I'm gonna put the lights on.
Okay.
Hopefully it's okay. Who's my idol? Schmeichel. Was Schmeichel the idol for sure? And Colin. Sorry, I just have to post. No, yeah, Schmeichel. But it was funny enough because when we were able to watch the Premier League from 2004, we had a couple of players. Zoltán Gira started playing, Gabor Király started to play, Torgele, and then Bolton was doing fantastic 2004, 5, 6, and I remember the Jaskalainen watching. So I thought like, wow, this guy is such a good player, such a good keeper, and style wise, height wise, I could relate to him. So I thought like, he's a similar built guy than like me. And then I thought like, wow, I'm gonna be Jaskalainen, right? And then I heard about Bolton that they were gonna sign me, and then I went to this trial, and suddenly I knock on the door because I need a charger. I didn't have in England. You have a different plug.
Yeah, I know.
And then he opened the door and he was there. Like, yes, wow, like that's incredible. Yeah, sometimes they always talk about like how you switch your mind to achieve something, and if you say it a lot of times and you dream about it and you do it, it might become true. And there I was. So And then for me was I still think I was one of the luckiest guys to be able to work with him, and to see what makes him be able to stay in that level for 10 years or 15 years in the top Premier League club. Sorry, a Premier League club in a top level, and he was always one of the best keepers, I think, in the Premier League when he was at his peak. So that for me was a huge gift to be able to work with him.
Yeah, I agree. When I was a little kid, I really liked Jyskläinen also. Okay, what about national team and your memories about this?
My memories are great, actually. I was really happy when I was able to go there, and I managed to start playing, and I was number one for a while, and I think then we had a couple of coaches. No, one coach left, and then the other one was coming, which was a mess. I have to say, I won't say names, but it was a mess. And after that, we have a great coach taking over and put us on. But when he came, it was Padardai, and when he came, I was injured. Surprise! I was most of the time, half of the time, I'm injured. But he took over, and he had success straight away, and then he invited Gabor Király back, and then he started playing with him, and the team was successful. So I was at the national team, but I wasn't playing anymore. And then I still signed for Liverpool, but I was still the same situation at the national team. I was sort of like second or third, but I was at that time play a couple of games for Liverpool, and then this happened, in January when Danny Ward came back and I became third. I wanted to go on loan, didn't let me, and then I didn't go to the Euros, and then from that moment I wasn't invited again. But I have to be honest, I got injured again, with my knee. Then I started playing. Then I had the head. So unfortunately, my career, because of that, it's a bit ups and downs. Imagine if I didn't get injured that much.
It's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And what about your opinion at today Hungarian team? You have a great goalkeeper, Peter Gulacsi. And what about your opinion? The doors in the national team is still not closed for you.
I don't think it's closed for anybody. I think I always say this, and then maybe if somebody listen to me often, then they get bored of what I say. That I always see in the national team, even when I was there, and even now, that you have to be able to perform at your club. You need to be in a club that it's at the level that the national team will look at you.
Yeah.
But then you have to perform regularly and in a level that will give you an invitation. And when you're there, then you need a little bit of luck to be able to play or impress in training. But it's steps, and I'm at the moment in here in the first step or second step. Maybe because of my name or my career, it would be easier to come in, probably. But the steps, I still have to make the steps to play regularly, and then we can talk about it.
Okay, one of the last questions. I speak with a lot of goalkeepers, and they said me that in the game they have a lot of pressure on you. You can do a mistake, and some goalkeepers say that they have a kind of headache before the games from this pressure. Is it your problem, or you don't have this kind of problems before games?
The headache I don't have. The pressure, you can feel it, of course. So then sometimes in your career, or sometimes before games, you just feel like you fly. There's no pressure. You know everything is great. Everything is perfect. You're focused. everybody likes you, and it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you have a couple of bad results, and then there's a couple of goals that's questionable, or maybe worse than it's not questionable. It's definitely your goal.
Mm-hmm.
Then it becomes pressure because you want to perform in a way that you stay in the goal, and then you prove other people wrong who think that you're not good enough to be there, and then you end up putting pressure on yourself. And I think the greatest keepers are who are there for a long time in the highest level.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because they don't make mistakes, or it's not because the team doesn't have a bad game, or they are not unlucky. It's just because they are able to forget the mistake within the game, and then when it comes to the next game, they just start again. They don't get too excited. They don't get too down. They analyze the game in a cool manner, and they just do it again and again and again and again. And that's a skill that I think will lift some keepers from being at a very good level and reach, or somebody who can stay at that level, the highest level, for a long time, like Alisson, for example, Liverpool. I think he's cool as a cucumber, as they say in England. That he just doesn't seem to be phased. Obviously, he's talented. He's great, but he has a personality that I think keeps him calm and enables him to perform in a constant level.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And I see that you have 2 awards as the Footballer of the Year in Hungary.
Yeah.
So what does it mean for you?
It's great to be. It's great to think about it. Unfortunately, I didn't receive anything. I heard it on the radio. It's a true story. Like, we were going somewhere in the car, and then my mom called me, like, listen, you're in the radio that you just got announced that you became the best player in Hungary twice in a row. But I nobody called me, or nobody told me anything. It wasn't. I didn't get nothing. So
it's pretty funny.
It's good as long as people keep in. It's on the record that it's great, because we can look back at it. But it would have been nice to somebody actually call me or give me something for that. But it's okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So it was the last question. In the end of this interview, can I ask you for some positive message of the situation?
In this situation, well, I guess try to do. Just try to get a routine in your life, I guess, and keep the guidelines as much as possible, but do activity. Spend time with the family, play games, board games. I think you can use this time to have time, and if you have kids, and they drive you crazy, because sometimes they do, But at the same time, remember that these times, when you look back, we will say, hey, remember when we were spending all day together and how great it was. We played this and that. You can teach a lot of stuff to your kids. You can have conversations with your wife, believe me or not.
Yeah, I understand you. I really understand you.
And I guess it's just a time to read some books. Use the time wisely, but I appreciate and I understand that it's really hard for many people, and it's not a funny situation. But I guess you need to be positive and bring out the best as possible from it.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Ádám. Thank you for this interview, that you accept this invitation. And good luck in your career after all this.
Thank you very much. And thanks for having me. Take care. Bye-bye.